welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you don't already know, I'm Janice McCord, the Digital Marketing Manager here at IngramSpark. And I just want to say a big thank you. You could be anywhere today and you decided to join me for this live. So thank you so much. We're so glad you made it to the most recent episode of Ask the Self-Publishing Expert, where we talk to experts about all things book industry related. So today we're discussing, is your book ready for marketing and publicity? So make sure to have your questions ready for the Q&A portion of this episode, because you know we love a good giveaway. Let's give a wonderful and big warm welcome to the owner and founder of the Vonnie Ollie Agency, Miss Karen Jackson.
Hello.
Welcome to the next episode of Ask the Self-Publishing Expert. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Karen?
All right. I'm Karen Jackson, the owner of the Vonnie Ollie Agency. I'm a book lover and avid reader. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I did 15 years in the music industry and then transitioned into trade book publishing at HarperCollins as a senior director of marketing, where I got to work on some lovely, lovely books. From there, I went to academic book publishing for about 2.5 years, where I oversaw marketing, sales, and publicity department for the University of California Press. And then I left there and started my own agency in January. So I am now running my own agency and working with self-published and some published authors. I also work with hybrid authors. So that's me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. So we do have some questions for you today. And my first question for you is, what are some of the key benefits with working with a marketing and publicity agency like the Vonnie Ollie Agency versus people trying to do it themselves?
Well, the first thing is it saves you time. Working with a professional saves you time. The biggest thing I find is that it saves you money. It does cost money to work with a professional. However, they are telling you where to spend your money, how to spend your money. And a good agency is going to create a structured plan that works for you and your budget. And it's going to give you tactics and things that you're going to need for your book. And every book is like a startup. So you really need to look at your book as an individual product, and working with experts to really launch it is the best way to save money, save time, and, not have that headache that a lot of people get when trying to figure out book marketing.
Absolutely. I think some people kind of want to know, what is the difference? What is the key difference between marketing and publicity?
So I say marketing and publicity are like peanut butter and jelly. They go really close together. They taste great together. However, one of them is earned media. One of them is paid media. Marketing is the paid. So that's when you have your advertising spend, you're spending money on podcast spends. You are, it's going to cost money with Amazon and all the different things that you can do to advertise your book, even on social media, creating Facebook ads, things like that. Publicity is more your earned media. That means you hire a publicist, you work with them. They're doing outreach to local and national media outlets. They're doing podcasts. Some publicists also do radio specific. Some do podcast specific campaigns. So they work hand in hand. But one, you have to pay for the advertising, and the other one, you're just paying the publicist to then go and pitch you to be on certain platforms.
Awesome. What are some red flags that a self-published author could look for when considering a marketing and publicity agency?
Oh, so my biggest red flag is guarantees. Since starting my agency, I've realized that a lot of platforms and different agencies were like, oh, I can guarantee you sales, or I can guarantee you a New York Times bestseller. Anytime they say guarantee, run, because there's no one that can really guarantee a New York Times bestseller. Even if you have a celebrity book, it might not get New York Times bestseller. I've got about 4 or 5 of them under my belt, and they were all earned, and it took a whole lot. You had to have all the buckets, and anyone that can tell you, oh, I can guarantee you, that's not going to work. So that is one of the biggest red flags for me. That's probably my biggest one.
Okay. So how can a self-published author's their author brand impact the success of their book marketing?
So your author brand, and I use that word kind of loosely because there are certain things that are a brand, like Martha Stewart is a brand. But as an author, you do have a brand. And where your brand starts is really where your community is. It's about who you have on your socials. And I will tell any author, you don't have to be on every single social. Be on the one that works for you and maximize it. Your brand as the author, you have to be able to engage. You have to be able to go in and talk to your readers and give a little bit of yourself. One thing about book marketing for me, people are going to buy you before they buy your book, and they really need to get to know you. And whatever you're comfortable with when you're creating that brand, do that. I love TikTok. I love to sit there and look at Book Talk for sure. And one thing I noticed is that there's some people that just get on there and they're cooking their dinner. And that's kind of their thing. They're talking, they're telling stories. Be engaged with people. That's kind of the author brand. And then link it back to your book. Fiction authors do it differently. If you have characters, you can use your characters. If you're nonfiction, you use your advice, your memoir, your thoughts. So that's kind of where the author brand is for
I
me.
love that. I love that. So, what type of investment should an indie author be prepared to make for a professional marketing campaign?
So there are different ways to look at a professional marketing campaign. For me, I start off with consultation fees and then go into actual campaign fees. And I do that because a lot of self-published authors, they don't have the budget.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at HarperCollins for 5 years and I had some pretty big budgets. If
Mm-hmm.
you're self-published, a lot of times you do or do not have that. But the best thing you can do is maximize how you're going to spend your money. And I tell people, budget early. People will budget for the editors because you have the 4 different types of editing that you have to go through: developmental, copy, line. And then people, you have to typeset it if you're going to have art in it. But what people don't budget for is the marketing. They don't budget the money, nor do they budget the time for marketing and publicity. So I tend to tell people, if you're going to budget, do somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000. It can go up from there. An average campaign is about 4 months where you're actively working, which is why I bring in consulting fees, because you have a setup time that you need to prepare for. A lot of times people say, oh, I've written the book, now I want to get it out in 3 weeks. Well, you didn't set your book up properly. It's probably not going to do as well. You can move a lot faster when you're self-published, but you still need to have a strategy in place. And so with that, you just need to put the time in there. But I tell people between 7,500 to 10,000 on up, because if you're looking at an 8-month campaign, that's anywhere between 2,500 to $4,000 monthly retainer for the agency or the professional that you're working with. Consultation fees can be a little bit less, but they're still working on your behalf. But it's a way to you kind of stretch out you working with a professional.
Understood. Understood. How do you help self-published authors identify their target audience, and why is that so critical?
Your target audience is everything, and identifying them early is key. One thing I always ask authors when I'm working with them is, who did you write this book for? And just because this is who you thought you wrote the book for, that does not necessarily mean that's the only person that book is for. You start with your core reader. So if you're a romance reader, you're going to start with the romance readers, where they are, where they're talking. Are they on Goodreads? What book clubs are they in? And so you want to kind of figure out where they are and know how to talk to them, and then go from there. One of the books I loved working on was Phil Robertson, and Duck Dynasty Phil Robertson. I worked with him on 2 books. And one thing that I did when working on his books, because we don't necessarily have the same opinions or see eye to eye, but one thing I did is I joined a lot of those sites that people that follow him.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Red Zone and all those different websites to figure out, what are they talking about? How do they talk to each other? Looking at the author sites and their socials. How do people communicate with this author? What do they want to hear from this author? And so I track a lot of those things when working with an author.
That's awesome. What role does the book's genres play in its marketing strategy?
Genre is everything. because romance readers, they might cross over and read thrillers, but how you target them is totally different.
Mhm.
Romance, you're looking for, they're looking at reviews and comments, and Book Talk is a huge place for looking at what romance readers are reading. There's a whole lot of that, but the thrillers, those are a different audience as well. I'm right now, toiling with Reddit advertising for some of my authors' books. And that's because a lot of they have a whole thriller section. So you have to go where they are and where they're talking about books. And that's the thing, because one day they might be talking on Book Talk, the other day they might be talking on Instagram. So you really have to know where they're talking. And because I work on both nonfiction and fiction books, and I do have some series that I'm working with, I like to find out where those people are. I kind of become a stalker of those readers. And I want to hear what they're saying, what other books they're talking about. And I always encourage any author, if you are a thriller author, and get into the comments of other writers and
Absolutely.
other and infuse yourself into the conversation. And then those people will start following you. Those people will start wanting to engage with you. And they're going to want to hear about the book that you're writing or your series.
Yeah. Great. I hope you guys are writing some of this information down. Karen is dropping some gems today, so definitely be writing those down for later. How important are professional reviews from sources like Kirkus or Publishers Weekly for an author's marketing efforts?
They are just as important as restaurant reviews.
Mm-hmm.
They are just that important. And the one thing is, they're not all created equal, because a lot of times if I'm looking at certain books, because I have different genres that I like to read, I'm going to go to Goodreads and see what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a reader, that's where you're going to go. You can also go to Storygraph, and you can kind of see where people are talking about those books. But that's kind of the trick that I use for that. Mhm.
Absolutely. So, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see self-published authors make in their marketing and publicity efforts?
Ooh, they spend too much money.
Mm.
Most of the authors that come to me, it's because they've spent a couple $1,000s. They've gone online, they've spent a couple $1,000s, they've done this research. This is what all the people said they should do, and you need to do this, you need to do that. And yes, there are some staple things that you need to do for your book. Amazon optimization is the one thing I tell every author: you have to do that part. But then listening to all these different avenues and professionals, people that haven't taken the time to read your book, to understand you as an author, to really dig in, that's where the problem comes in. They spend way too much money too early, and then they come to me after and they're like, "Hey, but I don't have any money left." And I'm like, but I will tell any author that's out there, anyone that's thinking of writing, get with a professional early and do a consultation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know with my consultation, I will at least tell you, these are the steps that you really need to think about.
Yeah.
If you're like, I don't have but $2, okay, I don't mind sharing information. And because more than likely, you're going to come back to me, because once you get into the nitty gritty, um, it's not the easiest thing to do. Book marketing is like no other. I did music for 15 years, and because you're in a genre specific when you're in music, I always went to you had the same radio stations, you had the same venues that you went to. It was kind of very regimented, whereas book marketing, it is all about researching, putting your plan in place, and being ready to pivot. The best thing about book marketing is I love to pivot. I love to think outside the box. The hardest thing about book marketing and publicity is you're going to constantly be pivoting all the
Yeah.
time.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, my next question is for self published authors who may be on a limited budget, what's one piece of advice that you would give them to maximize their marketing potential?
Reach out to a professional early, spend a consult fee. Some of them charge it, some of them don't. And start early. Maximizing your budget is all about communication for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I will spend time and thought, because any books that I work on, I've read them. I've
Mm-hmm.
read chapters of them, because when I worked at Harper, you were assigned the books. I have my own agency. I work on books that I like and I enjoy, which is why I do both nonfiction and fiction. But speak up and tell people this is my budget. And you're like, I only have $3,000. Well, okay, set aside my fee. Then let's figure out how to maximize that. Because guess what? If you start selling more books, which is always my goal, you're going to want to keep me and continue working with me.
Absolutely.
Because my agency, I like to work with people that have long-term writing, that, you know, are long-term authors.
Absolutely.
You know, people's like, oh, I wrote this for my children. That's great. You can actually print that up. You can go to Ingram and print your book. Yeah, go to Ingram and pass it out as Christmas gifts. But I like working with authors that want to be authors. And you can even still have a day job, but you're continuously writing. Those are the people that I invest the time with and I like to work with.
Understandable. Well, my next question is, how do you stay on top of an ever-changing landscape of social media, digital marketing?
Okay, so I have what I call my think tank. Those are my girlies that I work with. They're all freelance people. Some of them still work at Big Fives, but we kind of get together, and if you know, you have your network of people. There are people, Crystal, who you know, also works in book publishing. She, you know, she's always like, Karen, have you heard this? Have you seen this? Look at this. And so you have your network, and that's really how you get through it, because there's some people that are like good with Amazon. There's some people that are like, hey, this is a new trend. These are the different book events. And so you can't keep up with all of them. So you work with a network of people, at least I do, to really figure out, okay, what's happening, and always figuring out how we can work together as well.
Absolutely. Great piece of advice. I hope you guys are writing this down. My next question is, what is one piece of advice that you'd give an author who feels like they have the best book, the perfect book, but they're struggling to get it in front of a group of readers? And you kind of touched on this.
So the one thing about book publishing, it takes time. And I don't care if you're with a publisher or self-published, hybrid publisher, it takes time. And for some reason, it seems like it just happens overnight, or this became this bestseller, where when I was at Harper, a lot of my books, my Gary Sinise book that I did, Grateful American, that was an 18-month campaign. That was from the time we started talking to him to the whole thing. I worked on that book. It felt like 2 years. And then, you know, once the book comes out, there's still work to do. And then at Harper, when they flipped to paperback, that's a whole other campaign. And so it takes time. And the one key thing I want to tell any author, if you have your hardcover, your paperback, your ebook, and your audiobook, you have 4 pieces of product. Right. Those are 4 different pieces of product, because someone like myself, I listen to audiobooks and I read the physical copy at the same time. I prefer hardcover. So I'm that person that I have my Audible, I have my Spotify, but I have my hardcover. But the one thing about the reader, you can't tell them how to read it. You have to have your book available on all the different platforms. But e-readers do things differently. Audiobook people listen to audiobooks differently. And then some people like myself, I like hardcover. But then if it's a thriller book, I like it in paperback. So you want to have all your pieces, but you also want to look and understand that you have 4 things that you're selling, and they're not all the same.
Okay. So what complementary tasks should a self-published author do prior to reaching out to an agency like the Vonnie Ollie Agency?
One, know what you're writing about. I tend to like when authors are in that phase of, hey, I'm developmental editing. This is what I'm thinking of covers. Because one thing about me is I like to see it from the beginning all the way through. I don't even mind getting chapters as they're being written. It helps me to kind of think of my messaging, what this book is about. And then that's when I can also go in and start saying, okay, who is this book really for? You might think you're writing a book for moms with young children, but then did you know you're also writing it for teachers? Did you also know that you're writing it for therapists? There are a lot of different ways that you need to take it. So starting early is always the best. And one thing, I don't want anyone to ever think they're wasting an agency person's time, because if they're really vested in what your book is about and the success of you, they're going to take 30 minutes
Absolutely.
and, you know, really spend time talking to you and understand. Now, I don't allow, now I do have very good boundaries. You know, I try to keep people to 30 minutes. I try to have an agenda. And I always ask people, tell me what we're talking about ahead of time. Whatever you can send me early, send that to me. So that way I can sit down and read it and we can have a better understanding of what you're trying to create. So
Absolutely.
that's what I suggest.
Perfect. Perfect. So, how can self published authors or publishers follow you or reach out to you for more information about the Vonnie and Ollie Agency if they want to set up a consultation?
All right. So you can go to my website. It is Vonnie Ollie Agency.com. There's a link in there where you can fill out a form, and you can actually set up a meeting on my calendar. I'm also on IngramSparks as an expert.
Mhm.
Whereas if you come through IngramSpark, you get a 10% discount.
Mhm.
And I'm on socials. And I'll be very honest, because I can do content calendars and social media planning for all of my authors. But when you look at my socials, just say they're a work in progress. But no,
Hey, you're booked and busy. That's all that
yeah,
matters.
I'm working on your book. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, so I'm on all socials and my website, and you can go to Ingram Spark, and I'm an expert there.
Absolutely. And also, if you go to our link tree, you'll see Karen's link for the Vonnie and Ollie Agency right at the top. So you can just go right there and click. So, yeah, so we're about to jump into the giveaway portion of the live. Sorry, not the giveaway. Excuse me. We skipped over the questions and answers. So, we're about to go into the question and answer portion of the live. I noticed some questions coming through as we were speaking, Karen. So, I want to make sure that we get answer some of those questions. And if you do have questions, now is the time to ask. So I do see um, Tenacious Miranda. She just had a comment. Yep, I had a YA author. She did 2 consults with me. And by the end of the year, she hired my PR firm and took her self-published book to USA Today's best-selling book, her major press, over 4 years.
Yay.
She's equipped asked, what was the time frame for marketing again? I heard 8 months, I think.
So there are different time frames. So the one thing you want to start with is early is Amazon. So you want to start, because a lot of authors will try to write their book. Okay, now it's on sale. Now I want to do Amazon. But you really want to start that 3 to 4 months earlier. And that includes making sure that your page is optimized, but then also running sponsored ads. So those are a few months out. But then if you're going to do a pre-order offer, that is 4 to 6 weeks out. It used to be when I first started, they were doing them like 90 days out. You can't hold anyone's attention that long. So I tend to say do a pre-order offer 4 6 weeks out before your book goes on sale. And if you have an email list or social platforms, you can tease it early. A
Mhm.
lot of times you tease it with the book cover. You can engage people saying, hey, select the cover for me, even though when you are the publisher, it's already been selected. We're just giving them something to talk about. But yeah, so I would start at a minimum 3 months before your book comes out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Samantha Renwright says, what's your biggest piece of advice for debut authors?
Debut author, managing expectations.
Mhm.
Managing expectations, because some of the books that I worked on, if you're working with people that have over 1 million followers, you're going to have a different result. Now, I've also had someone that I worked with that had about 10 million followers, and the book debut did not go well, because you need to have a strategy in place, you need to have a timeline in place, and you need to work towards those dates. And any agency that you work with, even though marketing and publicity have no guarantees, there should be goals and markers that you're targeting to show that your growth and how you're growing. But for new authors, it's definitely managing expectations, knowing that it's going to take time. But the earlier you start putting steps in place with goals in mind and hitting those, the better your debut is going to be. And you're always going to want to start with getting reviews early. One thing that a lot of authors will forget is libraries and how important library is. Those are the mouthpieces to the book world. Still, they always have been and still are. I don't care what books you ban. The librarians are the place to make sure that you are engaged. There's NetGalley, there's Library Journal. There are a lot of places that you want to get your book in front of librarians because those are those mouthpieces. One thing I loved, the first ALA that I went to, Michelle Obama had kicked off her book there. That's how important librarians are. So it's very important to do that early.
Yeah, the questions keep coming in, Karen. They love you. Family Ink Publishing asks, I struggle with social media content. What do you recommend as a good strategy or the best strategy?
So I have an author right now. We're working on a bucket technique. So what we're doing is we're creating all the different buckets of what we're going to talk about. And then from those buckets, we're then pulling out, okay, these are going to be the key things that we're going to, let's say we're going to talk for 3 weeks on, because he's got a very wide background. He was a pilot, a comedian, all these things. But then his book is a fiction book set in the 1920s. But if you remember when I said they're going to buy you before they buy your book, you're going to want to put together a social content calendar.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to know what are the buckets that we're going to talk about. From those buckets, you're going to say, what assets do I need to communicate? Is it going to be something video? Who's going to record the video? Am I just in front of my computer recording things and uploading it? But it has to be things that are done on time. Nothing happens just, oh, it just happened. I mean, sometimes it does, but most of the time, someone has said, hey, this is what we're going to talk about for this many weeks. We want to look at how many comments we're going to get, how much engagement we're going to get. And that's also a part of the pivot. When I was talking about pivot, if you put out, say, hey, this is going to be a great thing that we're going to talk about as far as the book and everything, and we see we're not getting any comments, we're going to have to pivot. If we're not getting engagement, that means it's not interesting. So, so that's how I do that.
Okay, we do have another just comment. I see Tenacious Miranda. She said, I just commented to support Ingram for having such a great guest, and I love fellow PR that speak how it is. Great job. She's equipped. I do see you have another question, but since we're getting low on time, just message Karen through our IngramSpark at our link in bio, so that way you can set up some time to consult. All right. Thank you guys so much. We're about to go into our giveaway. So I hope that you guys have been taking good notes because Karen has been dropping gems all episode. All right. She said, so my first question is, what is the difference between marketing and publicity? Karen phrased it very, very well. She said 2 different words about marketing and publicity. The first person to respond in the comments will receive a prize. Just make sure to send us a direct message with your full name and your physical address. All right. The difference between marketing and publicity.
Shannon said peanut butter and jelly.
They do go together like peanut butter and jelly, but she said
They
2
do.
words. Yes.
I see a
Yes.
few people have answered it.
Yes, paid
Paid
and
and earned.
earned. Absolutely. Go ahead, Family Ink Publishing. Just send us a DM with your full name and your full physical address, and I'll have a little giveaway to mail you uh, for participating. So, my second question is, name a common mistake that Karen mentioned that authors make in their marketing and publicity efforts. A common mistake that she stated.
Social, yes, I think they were the first to respond.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
You know what? I'll send both of you guys one. Soki Books, yay. Yes, I'll send you one as well. Sorry about that.
Author Yolanda.
Author Yolanda?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Spent.
Yes, 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 yes. Awesome. You guys are on it today. All right. So I've got my last one. And I ask this every episode, Karen, and they just get so tongue-tied. So my last question is, name a previous episode, guest, or a previous topic that we've discussed on Ask the Self-Publishing Expert. A previous topic or a previous guest. Previous topic or guest. This gets them every time. And if you haven't watched our previous topics or episode, go to our reels and watch them. They're less than 30 minutes. Also the Metadata Mondays. They're a great source of information. A lot of questions that we receive in our DMs, we've already had episodes about. So definitely go and watch those. You can put your headphones in and listen. They're a very, very quick listen.
Yep. Sugar cookie books.
Yes. Danielle Marita. Yes. We love Danielle. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. I just want to say thank you all for coming and joining the live today. Thank you so much. Let's give one last round of applause for Miss Karen Jackson of the Vonnie and Ollie Agency.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being my latest guest on Ask the Self-Publishing Expert. Again, all her information is located in our link in bio. It is the first caption there. So if you want to set up some time with Karen, please do so. Again, thank you so much for joining me, Karen, and I will see you all next month for our next episode. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.